Welcome everybody, Kathy Arbor here, and today is Watercolor Tuesday. And today we're going to be continuing in my watercolor line sketching of nature journaling. And these are flowers that I have from my garden, and I have posted the photos that I've taken on my Instagram, and it's Kathy Arbor on my Instagram also. And you're more than welcome to use those if you want to try to do some of these. Hey Lena, good to see you. Hope everything is going well. It's cold here, very cold, but luckily I think we're going to miss the snow that everyone else is getting. Yay! It's still cold though. It's like -3 tonight, so that's cold. That's Celsius, so yeah, so probably most of my magnolias and stuff will be burned by the frost and stuff, but I enjoyed them while they were here, while I was out gardening most of the last week. So today I thought I would do these iris, and these are the little small iris that come out almost before your crocus. They're usually about the same time as your, oh, what are they called? The little white flower bulbs that you see in the UK a lot. Snowdrops, is it? Oh, spring here, great that you are. Yes, that would be a real downer. So I thought I would do these. I love these. These are the little miniature irises. They're like a Siberian iris, but they're very short. Like they might have been about 4 inches tall. And the flower comes on them before the leaves are even up. And once the flowers are gone, then the leaves start to come up, and it almost looks like really thick strands of grass. And they're about a foot high, I guess. They grow, the strands, and then about a month down the line they fade away too, and then the whole plant disappears underground. Hey Jelly! So I thought we could do that today. I already drew them ahead of time because that took me a while because there was a lot of I just did 2 of them. So you can find this on Instagram if you want to copy it. You're more than welcome to use the photograph. And they are really cobalt blue. They're one of the bluest flowers I've ever seen. The only other flower I know that can be that blue is delphiniums. Or there's a poppy, a blue poppy, that can be really blue too. So this is what we're going to be doing today. And my way of doing this isn't necessarily like a watercolor painting. This is for your nature journaling, just in a book. So it doesn't even have to be watercolor paper. If it is, it's a lot easier. I find it's a little more difficult because you have to pay attention to how much paint you're adding to your page, because it'll soak in immediately and you're not going to be able to move it around like you would in watercolor paper. But you don't, this style of watercolor is more about documenting the plant, not necessarily doing a frameable piece of art, if you know what I mean. So it's usually only a few layers of putting down your watercolor, more about adding light washes, so very watered down paper or paint. So this is a kneadable eraser, And I like to use these to just dull down the pencil marks. So first thing I'm going to be doing is using my ink. I like to draw it in ink first before I paint. Now I did it in, this isn't ink, this is actually I think it's a 2B pencil, and it's fairly dark, but this way you can see it and then you'll be able to follow along. Hey Janet, good to see you. Hope you're doing good. It's very cold here, but we're gonna just skim by that ridge of snow that everyone's getting. Yay! It looks like living by the lake is, instead of getting snow squalls, which we normally get, the warmer air is gonna stay around us so we don't get a whole lot of snow. Doing great. It's snowing in Oklahoma? Really? Oh my God. Well, that Arctic front is really dipping low. Wow. I hope you didn't plant too much in your vegetable garden. It's snowing here today. Oh, Jilly. I can't make that crap up. Oh man, that's a downer, boy. Holy. April, you just didn't, yeah, I just come to the fact that April, you never know what you're gonna get. Even sometimes May here, you never know. We've gotten snow in May here, so hopefully. Just keep your fingers crossed. Enjoy each day as it comes. Be grateful for the weather that you have, because it could be worse somewhere else. So I've got these Copic markers. These are the multi-liners. And I'm just going to do a quick, let's see what shade, 2. I think I'll do a 2. Yeah. And I'm just going to do a quick line drawing over top of the areas of my drawing here. And then I'll go over with my eraser and just erase parts of the lines that I don't do. So like I said, you can go on my Instagram and use these photographs. That's one of the reasons why I take them, is for you guys to try it. Try to do this drawing. Give it a try. You have all the colors that you'll need, and you can watch me do mine and see how these are such easy. There's no real rule to doing line and wash watercolor. Do them the style you want. You may want more line or maybe cross hatching. Put in yours. Do that. Everybody's work is different. And as you go along and do these more and more, you'll find you might like a certain thing that you tried, or the vice versa. You might not like something that you saw maybe me do, and you've decided, nope, that's not my cup of tea, so you're not going to do it again. But this is the way we learn, and what a great way, but put it in a journal, so it's not something you're going to frame. Now if you find out later that you really loved how it turned out, you could actually take it to a printer and have them print it out for you. Or you could do it again. Hey, Joan. You haven't planted yet? Oh, good. I've learned about planting early. Yeah, I know. I was just talking to my sister, and she was saying that they've already brought in geraniums for people to buy, and I thought, oh, it's way, way too early. A month and almost 5 weeks too early. Yeah, but you know, the stores, they know people are anxious for spring, and they know people will just buy it and think, oh, I'll keep it in the garage till it gets warmer or something. But then they end up buying more because geraniums are coming from a greenhouse, so they're used to that nice warm humid air they've been living in for the past 2 months, and then all of a sudden they get this cold, and it just sets them back. It's really not worth getting annuals, especially annuals or vegetables. It sets them back so far that really it would have been easier to plant seed. A lot of times I've found that seed would grow faster and produce more vegetables than the plants that you bought early and had sitting in your garage or somewhere. It's hard to resist, I know. I've done it myself, thinking, oh, I can put it somewhere. And then I just find that it just doesn't grow as good. So just sketch. I may not, put straight lines in here, like a maybe sketch, dot and sketch type of thing. Sometimes that looks nice. Experiment with your line work too. Maybe you want to change to a brush pen and put some of those lines in. You could also just put a few lines in just so you know where everything is. And then after you've done your watercolor, you could go back in with your pen work. Or if you want to do your watercolor first, you could do that too. There's no rule to this. I did get in my mulch. I got, what was it, 4 yards of mulch last week, and I did get that all put on, and I put a little bit on top of my hostas just to protect them from the cold. They were coming up because we had that really nice warm spell, so they got fooled and thought it was time to wake up. And that happened last year, and then they all froze and got all mushy. So I didn't want that to happen again, so I just piled a bunch on top of them. So hopefully that'll protect them with this weather that we're getting right now. Okay, I think I have what I want here. It is a little confusing, these drawings, because there's so many petals, but just get in as much as you can. This is the beard. It's got little white marks, so I want to know where those are because I want to kind of stay away from coloring that in. Now I could use a frisket, but I don't have any right now. Although I do have some Winsor & Newton designer gouache, which would work, so I might do that. I think I got them all. Hey, Dorothy. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my kneadable eraser and just remove a lot of this. This was a fairly dark pencil. It was I think it was a 2B, and it seemed awful dark for me, but I think it was probably darker. So I want some of this off. So I don't want it to show through some of this pencil. So I'll get rid of most of it. And I find these erasers are less likely to damage your paper too, if you're using watercolor paper. Alright, so I'll take you guys in a little bit more, possibly. See, I think I'll put my so I don't splatter anything. I'll take you guys in. That should do. Is that good enough for you? How's the picture look? Is it light enough? Is it too dark? It's hard to tell on my end here what you're seeing. I'm downstairs today, so I decided to use my camera instead. Looks good to me, no problem so far. Awesome. Thank you, Janet. So I'm going to be using, I think there's a lot of little areas in here, so I think I'm going to use my number 4. And this is a black velvet silver. I guess I should put some water on my, I forgot my spray bottle, of course. So I'll put some of this on my greens, purples, blues. All right. Now you can go about doing this in many ways. If you like, I have some blue already up here, which I could probably use. These are really blue. Very, very blue. Oh, did you rejoin? Dot. Thanks for popping back in. I know it's hard for everybody with what's going on, and things are tight for everybody, but I really appreciate your support. Thanks, Dot. So I have a, let's see, this one is cobalt blue, and it is, the flower itself is truly a cobalt blue. I don't know how it's coming across on your end, but it's very, very blue. Hey, Zandra. So you want to, in watercolor, you want to start from the light to the dark. So you can always add a lot of color on top of what you already have, but you can't, it's very, very difficult to take away color, especially on this paper, because it's going to soak right into the paper. So when you're doing journaling, nature journaling, that type of thing in a sketchbook that isn't necessarily watercolor paper, do very light washes to start, and then you can go over for your darker areas. So I have a fairly watered down cobalt blue here, and I'm just going to go over my petals here, and I've got my picture and I'm following the reference. And like I said, the reference is available for anybody that wants to go on my Instagram and use that to do this. If you don't want to draw it, it is a little bit of a confusing flower to draw. You could print it out and then trace it and enlarge it to whatever size you want. So I'm just starting with this very light color. Now it all depends on how you like to see watercolor done. Some people like it very loose looking. For me, especially in nature journaling, I prefer a little bit more of a tighter look in the journaling. I question you are using. I saw your stream, Z. I love the faces that you've been doing. It looks great. I want to start doing some faces too in watercolor. I haven't done a whole lot. I haven't done a whole lot of faces in anything really for a while. So I got to get back into that. Start doing it again. Now, when you're drawing flowers, I don't know if you guys want me to show you the whole process of drawing, or do you want me to just show the painting of it? These are the things I'd like to know, so leave a comment in the description below if you want to see my process of drawing these flowers and nature stuff. Because I'll be more than happy to show you what I do and how I see things. Thanks, Elaine. Yeah, there's Siberian iris. They're the spring ones. So they're like only 4 inches tall. And they come out very, very early. They almost come out before crocus. It's around the same time as snowdrops. So they're quite pretty. Something really nice to see So I like to plant stuff that's very early, usually where I can see it from my window. I like when you break it down, Kathy. Okay. I like watching the drawing and the painting. I like it all, and I would come. Oh, come on down. I might put you to work though, Janet. You'd have to do some weeding. So I really like these silver brushes, black velvet, because of the small point. You can get into small little areas, and that's what I like. This I find too that the watercolor is probably one of the most forgiving mediums for a beginner, especially in the way I'm doing it here in a nature journal, because there's not really a steadfast rule to doing all of these. Okay, so there's just a plain old wash of watercolor. So I'm going to go ahead and do the green. So as you can see, it's fairly a light yellow green. So I'm going to do the lightest color first. So look for your lightest color and do that first. We can always add darker colors on top. I would love to see the breakdown on drawing nature stuff. I get very intimidated. Sure. Okay, I'll keep that in mind then. And next week we will draw. I'll take a picture and you can download it from Instagram if you want, or take a screenshot, and then we'll draw it from there. So this, I have some yellow here. And I'm just going to mix a little bit of this green with it. So it's a yellowy green. And I'm just going to do these stems. And like I was telling the girls earlier, these flowers come up with the flower first before the stem fully comes out. You'll just start to see the tip of the leaves, and then the flower will pop up. And the leaves are usually, with this one anyways, is a very slender, almost grass-like look to it. And they grow about a foot high, I guess. And then about a month after they've come up, the leaves, then they die right off. And then they're done for the year. So they're great for behind other plants, so because they bloom so early. So what I like to do sometimes is put them, say, behind lilies or peonies, and then you don't have to see the leaves coming up with nothing on it afterwards. By that time, they're almost ready to die off. Okay. So you want to make sure, especially with this paper, not to wet it too much, because it will start to pill. So I'm going to dry this with the heat tool. good and dry now. Now, in the center, these are what they call beards. And with these particular type of iris, they're not fuzzy. They're just a smooth line of yellow. If you can see that. So we'll just put a nice bright yellow, so either a cadmium or lemon yellow would do. Whatever you have. And I want a fairly concentrated color, so I'm not going to water this one down because I want it to be fairly bright. And these little lines coming out are for the little zebra-like look to the beard. So they have an actual little lines coming out. Okay, so now we can add a little bit more color. So I'm going to put a little bit more paint in the cobalt blue. So I want the pigment to be a little thicker. And I think I'm going to put a little bit of ultramarine blue also in there. So the ultramarine blue will be darker. If you don't have ultramarine blue, you could also use just a smidgen of, let's see, you could actually put a little bit of dioxazine purple color, or a deeper blue, if you could find a deeper blue, but just add a little bit at a time till you get the right color. I got a paper towel, so I'm just going to take some of this water off, and let's test this out. So the dips, yeah, that's a good color. So it's going to be a little, there's shading. I'm looking at the shading now of this. So I'm painting around those white marks. It is fairly dark in there. And it goes very dark into the throat, or down the stem. And underneath here, it's a little bit shaded by that petal. And this actually, I'm going to take just water on my brush, and I'm just going to move this out a little bit. So before that dries, you can move it a bit, but not a whole lot. So it's very dark right in here. Kind of curves over right there, so you want it fairly dark. And right in here has to be really dark. And that's not too bad. Real dark in there. I'm going to add a really deep. Very dark in here. Let's see, this one here has some very deep marks. Just some water. Let it bleed out a little bit. And then this here is a little bit dark. It's the inside. These petals are kind of cupped that go up. And then there's just a bit of shading there. There's a bit goes up there, maybe a few. And then it's again darker, so I'm going to add a little bit of ultramarine on the very bottom. Just sweep it up a little bit. And in here is very dark. Take some of this again. Just bring it down. And this here is dark. Under here, very dark. And just take your time doing it too. Enjoy the process. Just being present in your creativity. Delete part of this. All right, let's continue. So what are you guys doing? Are you gonna be doing a watercolor sketch and wash journal type of thing, or who's gonna be doing a garden this year that hasn't ventured into that? I've planted quite a few things, so I hope winter doesn't come back for at least showing. Canna, where are you from? We're just skirting past the storm that's coming around, that everybody's getting snow. And I'm very happy about that because a lot of my stuff's up. I protected a lot of it, but I know it's going to be not a good thing for a lot of people. Okay. Yeah, this storm is huge. coming from north. So it's going to affect a lot of the United States and kind of swoops down and kind of misses our area just along Lake Huron, and then goes inland a bit to London, Ottawa, Quebec, that area gets it. And north, like in northern part of Ontario. So, kind of crappy. This is really dark in here. So if you're new or you just came in, you can get this photo from my Instagram, and you can use it to play along. I hope you'll try it. It's very, very satisfying to, you know, either take pictures for yourself, go out, and it doesn't have to be anything like beautiful, or it could be something that is interesting, like a bug maybe you see, or maybe a way a tree is growing that looks very unusual. Just go and take a look at nature. Maybe moss on a log would be cool. And then you just draw it. You could take a picture if it's cold out, or you don't want to sit where, I know it's hard, some areas are still locked down, like here. Parks are closed and everything, so you can still go out for a walk, but you can't go in the parks. I'm doing this part here. So in here it's kind of stripy. So I'm just taking the very tip . Using that mix that I made up. It's always good to have a good amount. If you know a color that you're going to use a lot of, mix quite a bit up so you don't have to re-mix something, because it's very difficult sometimes, especially if you're new at this, to get the right color back again. This is very dark under here, so I'm going to take a little bit of the ultramarine under here. And then right along there, it's very dark in here. So pure ultramarine blue over here. And you can write about, I'll show you a couple books that I have for this type of journaling, nature journaling. Now in this part here is right in here, so there's a little bit of more shadowing there. So we're just thinking about the shadows, how they would be going. A little darker in here. I actually missed a little bit of that, so I might have to put that on with gouache. So I don't know if I can get that. Let's see. There's this one, that's this part here. I also have Eskimo pink ones. I have 3 different kinds of trilliums out at the moment. Oh, awesome! Some white ones have been flowering for 4 weeks now. I also have Eskimo pink ones that are yellow inside and some yellow ones still to open. Awesome! Yeah, we've got them in our woods area here. You see them when you're driving along the highway in the woods areas around here. They grow wild, so you'll see a whole forest floor covered in white. They're really pretty. I had a lot, a wooded area lot, and I've sold it, but it had the most gorgeous burgundy ones that grew wild, and pink. We had white ones with a pink edge. It was really cool. I haven't seen many of those, but there was so many trilliums in that wooded lot. It was a hard bush, so they tend to like that ground, and it was very, very a high water table, so they seem to really like a wet area. In a woods area. So I'm just going to take some of that, soften it up a bit. And there's some really dark areas in here. So we'll just right here, and right in here. These kind of splay out. You gotta think of the way you'll see in the photographs, the streaking. If you can zoom in close to it, you'll see streaking on the leaves. So see how it streaks in a curve? So you gotta think of stuff like that when you're doing the painting. So this one here, I think, needs to be a little more like this. So this, get rid of that little area there. So scrub it. There. This one up here. This probably needs to be darker right here where it folds over. So all these little doodads, little bits and pieces that you're noticing make a big difference in your painting because it gives it dimension. So take the time and notice where your darks and lights are, because they do make a large part of the way the plant is shaped. If you have to, add some really dark areas like this here underneath. I'm going to add some pure ultramarine blue in there. You could even go darker, or you can take your pen, your black pen, and add some hatching. So I'm going to just add a little bit more dark in there. And let's see, there. And this might, just some streaks out here. And then there's some streaking in here. So just with the very tip of your brush, you can add some lines. I like doing them with the paint. I find that if you do too many lines with your pen and ink, it kind of loses its softness. So it's up to you. Everybody does this differently. Okay, let's do some of the, gosh, I didn't know they grew wild. Mine are in pots on the patio. Oh yeah, yeah, that's where they come from. Northern, well, Canada, and I think the US has them in their northern regions, but it takes 7 years for a trillium to grow from seed to flower. That's why they're protected here. So you're not allowed to dig them out here. They're very protected. Okay, so let's draw some of these. So I'm going to see if I can, I'm going to wet this area, because this is part of the, I don't know what you call it, sheath. Oop. Yeah. I ended up, no, it's not going to come up. I'll have to use some gouache in here. So let's take some of this nice green again. So this is, I think it's permanent green. I'm not sure though. Let me see. Yes, permanent sap green. So I'm just going to take some of this and draw some lines. They're very, very rigid looking, and they have these veins that go all the way down the stem. When they grow up, they're almost triangular in shape. So just with the tip of your brush, and just adding a little bit. Depends how much you want to put in. You don't have to do a very detailed one. You could just leave it green if you wanted to. There's a little bit of dying back too. You can just go over it and soften it a little bit, and it'll soften those lines down a little. And then you could go back with a green pen if you wanted to, an ink green pen, and do more to it. Now with these, there's going to be a little bit of, if you notice, there's a little bit of a shading on that yellow part. So we can add that too. So just get a little bit of ochre color. I think I have some here. So mix it with a little bit of green. And then just a slight bit in the throat. Just to do a bit of shading. And then I'm going to use that brownish color and just put a little bit on the areas of the paper stuff that's around the leaf. There's just a little bit here and there on that. That's kind of browning up. And that might be all it needs. I might put a little bit of shadow in. Oh, it's snowing there, Elaine. Ah, so sorry. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of this white wash. Where can I put it? You have a lid. Maybe I'll just wipe this a bit down here. I'm just going to put just a dab because I'm not going to use a whole lot. And I'm just going to mix a little bit of green to it. And then I'm just going to go over just some of the areas that are a little lighter, like down here. And when it dries a little bit see-through. And then you can go back and paint over that again if you want, if you find it's too light. Let's see what some there. Some there. You can go back over it with more thicker coat if you want. Just it's a little easier using this instead of trying to keep it all white. I like using gouache. Do you need You learn something new every day, Dorothy. Gosh, I didn't know they grew. Snow is, it is a four-letter word, especially to a gardener. Okay, what else do we need? We'll have to dry that and maybe take a pen and do a little bit more pen work. So I'm going to dry that. So if you're doing this in a sketchbook, I would suggest taking your paints and see if you can paint on it without it going right through the other side, because you don't want to have to paint something and then find out that you ruined your other painting because it went through. Okay, so let's take this. Now, this nice thing about these liners is they come in different pen nibs, so you can go really heavy, real light. I think I used a 2. So for the lines in the flower, you can use a very fine line pen and just make a few, not a lot, just a few, just to give it that indication of the veining of the petals. I wouldn't do it with a really thick liner pen. It would probably be too bold looking, and it would wreck the softness of the flower. So you have to watch how you put it on. Oh yeah, I was going to fix that too. Right in here. And just going to darken in some of these areas here. Just to make them stand out a little bit more. And I can add more to that if I want, put more lines in. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of, where did that go again? Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. I'm going to add some of this pure just to the top here so I can put that yellow back in. Actually, I had my brush too wet. right there. And while I have some on my brush, I could just dot a few more in if I want. Like that. You do need all right. I'm going to dry that so I can paint yellow over top of it. Okay, and now I just take some of that yellow and I can put that yellow in there. It's nice and bright. See, I had a little bit of blue in there, so it would have been kind of green color looking. Hey, Nan. Thanks. Yeah, it's up. Picture is up on Instagram if you want to use it and give it a try. All right, so now what I thought of doing, so, I have all these stamps, so why not use them? So I want to write about it. So I had these old stamps. These are very old. And I could use some of these. They're a little prettier than just a few lines. So we could use those, or I have some letters here. And we could do iris, or just use the capital letter. These are a little fancier. I hadn't even used them that much. Don't think there's, let's see. Just stamp it on this paper here, see what it looks like. That's pretty. Just have to watch that I don't get ink on the sides. Do I have a block? Let's wipe it off. And put an eye. Got to go. Okay, Joan, have a fantastic week. There's an eye. It's a little wonky, but it's my journal. It's kind of and then I just get a white or a pen. I could probably fix that. Let's see. Let's see what we can do. It's all only a journal that you can do whatever you want in. So I'm just gonna even out the top. And then there. You can just leave it like that, or you can, you know, make them a little more fancy, whatever you want to do. And then put the date on. And just write about it. Make some lines. If you don't want to use a stamp, if you don't want your lines to be noticeable, just take a piece of paper, draw some with a or you could do what Janet does. Janet's in the stream. She streams every Monday. So Janet M. Young. She does watercolor too. So if you want to check out another watercolor artist. And then you can just write what you want to do there. So the next one we'll be doing is this one, and this one is a bloodroot, and it's also a native for here in Canada. Where is it? So that's what it looks like, and it's a beautiful rosette. And they're sterile, so you can't have seeds. You have to divide by tubers. And the only thing with this, though, is that it's corrosive. You get some on your skin, you got to wash it off immediately because it, I can't think of the word, it continually will eat away your skin. It won't, it'll stop you from healing. So, yeah, nothing will eat that. But it's got a beautiful flower, and this one happens to be a very rare one, which I didn't know. And normally they're single petaled, so they've only got like, I think it's 6 petals. But this one, it has a very pretty rosette kind of look to it. Yeah, they don't look real. And the flowers are, once the leaves come out, I'll show you the leaf. The leaf is very unusual too. But it flowers without the leaves first, and then there's another one with them open. And they're about, probably about that big. So about 3 inches to 4 inches big. They're really gorgeous. They have no scent, but once the leaves come out, the leaves are very large. They're about this big. And they're very intricate looking, a very unusual pattern. So I'll show you that when they come out. So I think that's it for today. That's what we did last week. Now I did take down the video for this because it was so pixelated and yucky. I didn't want to bother even having it up. So I'm glad that this stream worked out. And we'll be doing a whole lot more different types of nature journaling, and I'll be starting to add borders and maybe even some sewing in it. Who knows? This is to experiment in, so if you want to join me in the nature journaling, just pick up a very inexpensive sketchbook. This is really just a sketchbook, but it's worked very well for me in watercolor. It's never seeped through, and it's just a very inexpensive Michaels brand journal. I think you can still get them with this cover too. And I think it was $7 Canadian here. So I'll let you guys go, and if you get going in this and use any of the drawings that I'm doing, be sure to post them on Instagram and tag me so I can see what you're doing too. And get out there and just take a look at what's growing around you, what's flying, what's crawling, what, you know, whatever. It's a nature journal, so it's to get you looking at what's in front of you, and take a picture or sit there and draw it right there and then. It's a great way of getting out and enjoying and being in the present. All right, we'll let you guys go, and have a great day, everyone, and stay safe and stay healthy.